About 2 months ago, I was driving to pick up someone at Trenton train station. And as the light stopped me, I looked to my right and there was like a homeless beggar. And I'm like, oh, my purse is not next to me. And my spirit was just compelling me so heavily to reach out to the beggar. So I'm like, but my excuse, I was like, my purse is not here, it's in the trunk. But the spirit was so strong, I said, okay, fine. So I parked my car at the traffic light. I didn't care who was behind me. I ran to the trunk and I reached out what the Lord was propelling me to give to the man. And I gave it to him, and as I put my car to continue driving, right there, I almost got into an accident. And I'm like, wow, God, I thank you. Maybe that saved me if I had not heeded to that voice. So I made a turn, and then the U-turn kind of brought me back to the same point where I had given the beggar the money. I looked and he was not there. I was thinking about one of Shepherd's stories, like maybe it's an angel that disappeared. But it wasn't an angel, it was a beggar running. Is he running because the amount I gave him was so heavy duty? And he was like, before this girl changes her mind and come back. I mean, that was the silly thought that ran through my mind. But I was like, well, to God be the glory. I felt at peace that I heeded to the voice of the Lord. So that was that. And we always hear from time to time, Shepherd telling us to be charitable, to give alms, even if it's your time, it doesn't have to be money. So that's my first story. The second story was on Roosevelt Boulevard in Philly, Route 1. I gave, again, another lady, a beggar on the street, on the highway, some money. And when I gave it to her, I started driving. And I looked in my rear view mirror and she was like, thank you, just like looking up to the skies. And I'm like, wow, even the beggar, they're praising God on my behalf with the little token I've given her. And I just heard her yelling, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure other cars were like, how much did she give up? But I kept driving. My mind was at peace. I was smiling. But the last one I did was about 2 weeks ago. On my way to work, I always give alms here and there. And this particular person, again, my mind was so heavy. The cloud was just over me. I wasn't feeling myself. My spirit was just damping that whole week, And the Lord instructed me to give alms at a particular station. And I'm like fighting with my God, like, why do I have to keep doing it? I'm still waiting. And I kind of like try to bargain with God. Okay, if I see this beggar there, then I'll do it. If I don't, then I won't do it. Yeah, I got there, the beggar wasn't there. And I heard the Spirit laugh within me like, okay, well, before you get to the next light, you will see a beggar. And behold, I did. And I reached out. The car started moving and I beeped the horn at the beggar and she came to my car and I gave it to her. And then she was like, holy! And that's all I heard. I didn't hear the rest of the holy cow, holy whatever, but again, she was rejoicing. And I just wept as I drove past her to work. Like, I was just weeping. And that last act just made me realize, like, wow, God, as you've allowed me to place joy in this woman's heart, I beg you, please do the same for me, especially this week. I need your favor. And with that tears, with that sorrowful heart, I drove to work and I was like, God, as you've used me and I heeded to your spirit to put joy in this woman's heart, I need you to do the same for me. So what am I saying? From one of our hymn books, hymn 152, it says, remember me, O Lord, remember me. When the whole world forsakes me, it's Lord who remembers me. When the world sets trap for me, it's Lord who remembers me. When I am weary and in need, it's Lord who remembers me. Remember me, O Lord, please remember me. So when I was thinking about what topic to share with you guys today, I know we've been talking in depth about the Lord's coming and, let us be right with Christ, to definitely not miss this last calling. These three stories just kept coming to mind, and then the Lord summed it up with that song. And yeah, when we're afflicted, when we're suffering, when we're in pain, we're asking God to remember us. But do we ever sit down to wonder, and like, what if God is asking us, what have you done for me to remember you? We're constantly asking God to remember us in our afflictions, in our pain, in our suffering, but what are we doing for God on behalf of our fellow brothers and sisters that will move God to remember us? The word of the Lord makes us understand that the poor, the needy will always be in our midst. If it's not in the church, it is on the streets, it's in our families. It's not when we give alms, but even as little as sharing your time. I see people giving beggars on the street a packet of food, a bottle of water. It doesn't matter what it is, but just reaching out to those in needs in our lives. For they've been placed in our lives for a reason. And the word of the Lord makes us understand that the Lord, if we turn deaf ears to those who are in need, the Lord has no choice but to turn deaf ears to our prayers, to our supplications. And He is a God of reciprocity. So with that said, I will say that remembering those in need is a virtue God demands of every one of us. Because when we do to others what we're asking God to do for us, their angels, God, their maker, is always writing in the book of remembrance our deeds to them that's making them glorify God through us. And yes, the end time is coming. Everyone is like, okay, fearful of the rapture and fearful of, God, am I going to make it? What is it that I should do? There's so many things to do for God to remember. And yes, we are not perfect. We're all striving for perfection. But little things like this is what God might even use when He opens that book of remembrance to say, yes, Mr. So, I would, crown him with that crown of salvation. So with that said, if we go into the book of Romans chapter 12, 13, it says, share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. And if you think about it, this is a form of love. And everything in the Bible, His commandments to us, is all summed in the 2 commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your hearts and with all your soul, with all your strength. And love your neighbors as yourself. So when we remember those in need, not only is it an act of love, God is putting in His book of remembrance, and it might just be that little effort that we do on a daily basis that will help us gain that crown of salvation. And like I said, the last one I did that moved me, that stood out to me, was that one where I gave it to her and I was weeping. And before God, that week was just one of the blessed week in my life. Like everything was just, I don't know how to explain it. I was at peace within myself, and God is the one that gives that peace that surpasses all understanding. Yes, I'm still in need of supplications here and there before Him, but that whole week I just had this peace of mind within my soul that I was just like, God, I thank you. So the take-home message today, just to drive home everything, is from the book again of Luke chapter 14, 13 and 14. It says, but when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Amen?
Amen.
Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous.
Amen.
And that kind of stood out to me, like it summed everything up. We're all going to be falling short of the glory of God one way or the other, but it's only the grace of God that will help us to attain that crown of salvation at the end time. It is tough, it is hard. I shared with Shepherd this terrifying dream I had of the end time this week. It was terrifying. But one of the instructions that was given in that dream was, that helped to overcome the devil in that dream were 3 instructions given. And the first is rebuking the devil in the name of Jesus. In that dream, that was how we rebuked the devil. The second was Jesus is Lord. In all our ways, in all our actions, in all our deeds, we should always remember that Jesus is Lord. And the third one is stand on the rock of ages. This, yes, they're kind of like simple, but they're hard. But if we all put it into practice, in addition to doing things like being hospitable to each other, showing act of love, by God's grace, by His mercy, we'll all attain that crown of salvation.
Amen.
If I can just support you with Acts 10.
Yes,
There
sir.
was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called Italian Band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming to him and said unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. And what is it again? So Acts 10. So if we could not just hear it, but just digest it and practice it, it would just open windows of opportunities for us, left, right, and center. We're all suffering, waiting on the Lord for one thing or the other, but it is God in His infinite mercy that will meet us at our points of needs.
Amen.
And definitely not allow us to miss that crown of salvation.
Amen.
Praise His own words.
Amen.
Very good. Very good.